We're going to look at the dorsal part of the torso. This right here is your atlas bone, and this right here is your axis bone. First cervical vertebrae and second cervical vertebrae. Atlas and axis. We have the seventh cervical vertebrae, so you count all the way down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So there is your seventh cervical vertebrae. And this torso had a laminectomy, so you can see the exposed spinal cord here in the cervical region, as well as here. So it had a laminectomy, where the lamina of the vertebrae have been cut. So we've looked at the first cervical vertebrae, second cervical vertebrae, and seventh cervical vertebrae, here and here. This vertebrae right here is your first thoracic vertebrae. So this is the first one, and then you count 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we see the seventh cervical vertebrae right here. And we're going to pull it out. Okay. Now, here we see the seventh thoracic vertebrae, the seventh thoracic vertebrae. So remember, we've counted all the way down. This is the first thoracic, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh. So here is the seventh thoracic vertebrae. And we see that everything is intact here. We can see different regions of the vertebrae. Now this blue structure here is the intervertebral disc here. And we can look at this area right here. This is the body. Now the intervertebral disc are going to be between the body of the vertebrae. So here's the intervertebral disc. This is showing you the exposed body here of the vertebrae. And this is the superior region of the vertebrae here, and this is the inferior region. We have the spinous process right here. So right here, we will have the spinous process. Now, this process right here is the transverse process. So this is the body, transverse process, and spinal process here. And I've already showed you the intervertebral disc. So this right here is your intervertebral disc, which is made up of fibrocartilage and hyaline cartilage. Fibrocartilage in the center and hyaline cartilage on the outside. Now, let's count on down here. So this is the seventh thoracic vertebrae. Let's put it back. So there's your seventh thoracic vertebrae. And this will be 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So here's your 12th thoracic vertebrae right here. And let's look at the first lumbar vertebrae. So L1 is right here. Here's L1 right here. See the number 7 there. And we have the second lumbar, third, fourth, and then fifth lumbar right here. So we can see L1, L2, L3, L4, L5. Pretty simple. Now we have the 12th rib right here. Right there where the thoracic vertebrae is. It's had a laminectomy, so the spinous process, you can't see the spinous process because the lamina have been cut to expose the spinal cord. The lamina of the vertebrae have been cut in order to expose the spinal cord. Iliac crest. Iliac crest is right here. And on some of these other models, here we see the iliac crest right here. Because there's two types of models in here. All these are by 3B Scientific, but that muscle model over there is a little bit different, showing you the iliac crest. So this is iliac crest, and this would be the iliac crest. Sympathetic trunk. So the sympathetic trunk is going to run parallel to the spinal cord. So this is the spinal cord right here, and we're going to see on either side of the spinal cord, you can't see it on this one, but we're going to see this sympathetic trunk running parallel to the spinal cord. And I want to show you the external intercostal muscles. So this right here is showing you the external intercostals here. And then we see the costal pleura right here. And now we're ready to do the spinal cord, which I've already showed you. So here's the spinal cord here, going all the way up through here, spinal cord. And let's do the cervical part, spinal cord, this region right here. And this is your thoracic part. And this is your lumbar part here. Cauda equina. Looks like a horse's tail. You see this stuff that's coming off, these nerve rootlets that's coming off. Now, it's important to know that there's a structure right here. And it's around L1, L2 area. Superior to that one place, the spinal cord is in one piece. But inferior to that, the spinal cord is going to flare out into tiny rootlets. By the way, that region is called the conus medullaris. Conus medullaris. So around L1, L2 area. So it's important to know that you can have a spinal tap in this region here. But if there's a spinal tap done in anything above that or superior to that, then there's a risk that the spinal cord will be damaged. But right here, there's rootlets, nerve rootlets. And this is what the cauda equina is, because it looks like horse's tail. That's the Latin term, cauda equina. And the terminal filament is this structure right here, E. And let's look at the spinal nerves. The spinal nerves are just flaring out horizontally from the spinal cord. So we have 8 pairs of cervical nerves, all these right here. And then we have 12 pairs of thoracic nerves. And then we have 5 pair of lumbar nerves. The coccygeal nerve is right here, right here. So, in there. So, anyway, let's move on to spinal arachnoid. Now, you have meninges. That's going to be the connective tissue that's going to wrap around the brain as well as spinal cord. So the first one is dura mater spinalis, and the next one would be the spinal arachnoid. So this blue structure here, that is the dura mater. That's the thickest and most superficial of the connective tissue. And then you have this pink structure here, which is the spinal arachnoid, or arachnoid mater. And then we have the vertebral artery going up right through here. Now, if you look at the individual cervical vertebrae, which you will in the skeleton lab, you'll see transverse foramina located on the transverse processes, and that's going to be where the vertebral arteries are going to go up. So we can see the vertebral artery going up right through here as well as right here, and that's going to deliver oxygenated blood to the brain. And let's see what else. Intercostal artery and vein. Intercostal artery and vein is right there. And we have the internal vertebral plexus. That's these blood vessels right here. Internal vertebral plexus. Okay, I want to do some more structures here. So let me lift this torso up without damaging anything. And I want to show you the I want to show you the femoral artery and vein. And I don't know if you can see this or not, but this is the femoral nerve. So when you look at this from medial to lateral, it'll spell vein. So you have your femoral vein, artery, and nerve. Common carotid artery. I think we've already been over this, but you can see it right here. And then we have the brachial plexus nerve, this structure right here. And then the subclavian artery, this structure right here. The subclavian vein, this structure right here. Jugular vein right here, right beside the common carotid artery. And then we have the sciatic nerve. The sciatic nerve is going to be this structure right here. And we have the lymph node right here. Here's another lymph node. Here's another lymph node. Remember, this is the femoral artery and vein. And we have the celiac trunk right here. So this right here would be the abdominal aorta. This is the celiac trunk that's going off first. The second branch that's inferior to that would be the superior mesenteric artery, and then the inferior mesenteric is not shown, but I'll show it to you on another model. Just bear with me. So right here we have the abdominal aorta. This is your celiac trunk here, superior mesenteric and inferior mesenteric. And those arteries provide oxygenated blood to the digestive organs as well as the liver.